For decades, Catherine O'Hara felt like someone we truly knew. Her face appeared in our living rooms, her voice echoed through holiday traditions, and her characters felt oddly personal, like distant relatives we revisited every year. Yet, the truth is, we only ever knew the version she chose to give us. Beneath the laughter, the wigs, and the perfectly timed chaos was a woman who guarded her inner world with extraordinary care. Fame surrounded her, but it never owned her. While audiences assumed access, Catherine quietly maintained distance, proving that warmth on screen does not require exposure off it. She mastered the delicate balance of being visible without being consumed. This illusion of familiarity is what made her so powerful. We laughed freely, never questioning what it cost her to deliver that joy. And that contrast, between what was shared and what was protected, defines her legacy more than any single role ever could. A childhood that shaped a performer. Catherine O'Hara's instincts as a performer were shaped long before cameras or applause entered her life. Growing up in a large, energetic family in Toronto, she learned early that humor was more than entertainment. It was communication. In a house full of voices, timing mattered. Wit became a survival skill. You learned to speak clearly, quickly, and memorably, or risk being unheard. That upbringing sharpened her observational skills and emotional intelligence. She understood people before she understood performance. When she later entered comedy spaces, dominated by strong personalities, she didn't shrink or shout. She listened, adapted, and struck with precision. Her humor was never accidental. It came from watching human behavior closely and responding honestly. This foundation made her comedy timeless rather than trendy. She wasn't chasing laughs. She was revealing truths, and that authenticity followed her into every stage of her career. Finding her voice in improv, Catherine's rise through the comedy world wasn't effortless, but it was unmistakable. At Second City in the 1970s, she entered an environment that rewarded fearlessness and punished hesitation. It was a proving ground, not a showcase. Surrounded by performers who would later become legends, she carved out space through versatility rather than volume. She could disappear into characters so fully that audiences forgot the actor behind them. That ability became her signature. She wasn't playing jokes, she was inhabiting people. Her work on SCTV solidified this reputation. Week after week, she transformed, never repeating herself, never relying on shortcuts. This era defined her artistic discipline. She learned that comedy required commitment, not ego. It was here that Catherine developed the rare skill of making absurdity feel human. Long before Hollywood noticed, she had already mastered her craft, becoming a cultural constant. When Catherine O'Hara transitioned fully into film, her presence carried a sense of reliability audiences didn't always consciously recognize. In movies like Beetlejuice and Home Alone, she wasn't positioned as the spectacle, yet she anchored the emotional reality of wildly imaginative worlds. As Delia Dietz, she embraced creative eccentricity without vanity. As Kate McAllister, she captured panic, love, and guilt with startling sincerity. Her performances worked because they never felt exaggerated for attention. She trusted restraint. Over time, her roles became part of cultural memory, not because they demanded it, but because they earned it. Families grew up with her characters woven into their traditions. She became a familiar emotional landmark. And yet, despite this visibility, Catherine remained remarkably untouched by celebrity culture. She showed up, delivered excellence, and stepped back, again and again, without explanation. Perfection. Behind the laughter, those who worked closely with Catherine often spoke about her intensity, not as arrogance, but devotion. Comedy, to her, was serious work. She approached every scene with meticulous attention, refining gestures, rhythms, and reactions until they felt truthful. This dedication came with quiet pressure. She held herself to standards higher than anyone else demanded. While audiences saw ease, she felt responsibility. She wanted to get it right, not for praise, but because she believed comedy deserved respect. This perfectionism made her exceptional, but it also required enormous energy. She rarely spoke about the emotional toll of carrying that standard. Instead, she internalized it, transforming effort into grace. Her humility masked how hard she worked. Catherine never acted like a star chasing validation. She behaved like a craftsperson protecting the integrity of her work, even when no one was watching. Choosing distance in a loud industry. At various points in her career, Catherine made decisions that confused observers. She declined projects, she spaced out appearances, she resisted constant exposure. To an industry built on momentum, this looked risky. To Catherine, it was necessary. She understood that constant visibility could dilute both joy and purpose. Rather than allowing fame to dictate her life, she curated it. She valued privacy not out of secrecy, but self-preservation. She chose family, routine, and balance over endless attention. This wasn't retreat, it was strategy. She protected her energy so that when she did return to the screen, she could give fully. Her absence was intentional, not accidental. By stepping away when needed, she ensured that her work remained fresh and meaningful. Catherine proved that sustainability in creativity often requires restraint, even when the world demands more. Reinvention without desperation. When Schitt's Creek introduced Moira Rose, it felt like a revelation. Not because Catherine had changed, but because audiences finally saw the full scope of her ability. Moira was fearless, theatrical, vulnerable, and absurd, all at once. Catherine didn't treat the role as a comeback. She treated it as an opportunity to explore something new. Every choice was deliberate, from the accent to the posture to the emotional unpredictability. She built Moira from the inside out, grounding excess in sincerity. The result was unforgettable. Audiences responded not just to the humor, but the humanity beneath it. This wasn't nostalgia at work, it was evolution. Catherine showed that experience deepens performance rather than dulls it. She didn't chase relevance, she redefined it on her own terms, reminding the industry what patience and trust in craft can produce. Carrying loss without display. Throughout her career, Catherine experienced personal and professional losses that shaped her deeply. She belonged to a generation of comedians who formed intense creative bonds, and over time, she watched many of those bonds end in absence. Rather than public mourning, she chose quiet endurance. She carried grief privately, allowing it to inform her work without becoming her identity. This restraint wasn't emotional distance, it was respect. She believed pain didn't need performance. That philosophy extended to every part of her life. Catherine rarely explained herself, not because she owed nothing, but because she believed some things deserved silence. In a culture that rewards oversharing, her discretion felt almost radical. Yet it preserved her humanity. She honored her experiences without exploiting them. And in doing so, she modeled a strength rooted in dignity rather than exposure. The weight of always giving comedy legends are often expected to be endless sources of joy. Catherine understood that expectation, and she met it with professionalism and care. On set, she was known for her generosity, arriving prepared, supporting others, and never letting fatigue affect her kindness. But giving constantly carries weight. Audiences see the laughter, not the cost. Catherine bore that cost quietly. She never positioned herself as a victim of her success, yet she understood its demands. She worked tirelessly, even later in life, meeting physical and emotional challenges with discipline. Her commitment wasn't about proving something, it was about honoring the work. Still, there is irony in how performers who give the most are often assumed to need the least. Catherine never corrected that assumption. She simply continued, trusting that the joy she created mattered. A legacy defined by grace. Catherine O'Hara's legacy is not defined by tragedy or mystery, but by intention. She lived her career with clarity, choosing when to speak and when to step back. She resisted spectacle in favor of substance. Her characters endure because they were built with empathy, intelligence, and honesty. Beyond the screen, her influence is felt in how she modeled longevity without compromise. She proved that you can be celebrated without being consumed, that you can be private without being distant, that you can give generously without losing yourself. Catherine didn't owe the world everything, yet she gave it so much. What remains is not silence, but resonance. Her work continues to comfort, inspire, and connect. And perhaps that is the greatest achievement of all, to leave behind laughter that feels personal, lasting, and deeply human.